Hello students, this is your history lesson. Today we are going to read chapter 8 Aurangzeb from your history book. So we start our lesson. Aurangzeb, kingly title Alamgir, original name Muhyiddin Muhammad, Emperor of India from 1658 to 1707. The last of the Mughal emperors. Under him, the Mughal Empire reached its greatest extent, although his policies helped lead to its dissolution. Now come to page number 54 and we will read and understand more about Aurangzeb. Let's start reading. Aurangzeb ascended the throne with the title of Alamgir or world conqueror. Ascended, move upward. He was a great general and statesman, and nobody could rival him. Rival, be or seem to be equal or comparable to in diplomacy and statecraft. He was a pious Muslim who believed that the wealth of the state was a trust with its rulers to be spent for the welfare of the people instead of being squandered. Squandered, waste something, especially money, in a reckless and foolish manner on personal whims, a sudden desire or change of mind. He lived simply and frugally careful in spending money. He copied the Quran and sewed caps to meet his personal expenses. Even as a viceroy during Shah Jahan's rule, Aurangzeb had handled administrative matters satisfactorily in the Deccan. However, a long-lasting rivalry between him and his brother Dara, Shah Jahan's favorite, shadowed Aurangzeb's efforts. On coming to the throne, Aurangzeb took some measures to give relief to the people. He abolished toll taxes, formally put an end to Pendari, the ground or house tax, and nearly 80 other taxes. At court, he prohibited the festival of Nowruz, which was Persian in origin, banned music, dance, and alcohol, and appointed muhtasibs or censors of public morals to control the conduct of the people. What is festival of Nowruz? Nowruz, one of the biggest festivals celebrated in Iran, Iraq, the Central Asian republics, and Afghanistan, marks the first day of spring and the beginning of the year in the Persian calendar. Muhtasib, a government appointee who investigates complaints by private persons against the government. Censor, an official who examines books, films, news, etc. that are about to be published and suppresses any parts that are considered unacceptable. In 1679, jizya, the tax on non-Muslims, was reimposed on the Hindus, which created a lot of ill will for Aurangzeb. The tax was resented by the Hindus, who again felt at disadvantage compared to the Muslim subjects. However, it is often overlooked that Aurangzeb abolished jizya in 1704 because he found the tax collectors to be corrupt and he did not wish to burden his subjects. Jizya. Jizya is mentioned in the Quran. The word comes from the Arabic root jaza, meaning the to compensate. In this case, it is a compensation for the security and protection that the non-Muslims have in the Islamic State without fighting for the defense of the country. Aurangzeb and the British. During the time of Jahangir, Sir Thomas Roe had been given concessions. Concessions or concession, a thing that is granted especially in response to demands, for the British to trade and build factories at Masulipatam, Holi and Qasim Bazar. In 1668, Charles II got the island of Bombay as his Queen's dowry and gave aid to the British East India Company. In Bengal, the British trade grew tremendously as they exported goods worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. In Aurangzeb's time, the British had started to fortify their possessions. Possessions, the state of having or controlling something. And when Shah Jahan, the governor of Bengal, imposed local duties on British trade, the company defied Mughal authority. James I sent his warships to the Indian Ocean in order to capture Chittagong. This aroused Aurangzeb's anger and he ordered the taking over of the British factories at Surat in Gujarat, Masulipatam in the south, and on the Hooghly in Bengal. The British were asked to vacate these in 1688. Peace was resorted when Aurangzeb pardoned the British, who were able to return in 1690 to Holi after payment of compensation to the Mughal government. In 1691, Job Charnock, the British representative, laid the foundations of Fort William, which later became the city of Kolkata. Masulipatam, also known as Masulipatam, Mesula and Bandar, is a city in Krishna district of the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. The Deccan Wars, 1682 to 1707. Aurangzeb spent the last 25 years of his life in the Deccan trying to subdue the Marathas and extending the empire. Subdue, overcome, or bring under control. He conquered Bajipur in 1686 and Golconda in 1687. With the fall of these two kingdoms, Aurangzeb made himself master of the Deccan, but he still had to face the tenacious and hardy Marathas. Tenacious, tending to keep a firm hold of something. A famous historian says of Aurangzeb, under him the Mughal Empire reached its greatest extent and the largest single state known in India. From the dawn of history to the rise of the British was formed. From Ghazni to Chittagong, from Kashmir to the Karnataka, the continent of India obeyed one scepter. A scepter is a staff or wand held in the hand by a ruling monarch. The empire thus formed while unprecedented, never known before. Unprecedented in size, was also one political unit. The provinces were not ruled by sub-kings but directly by the servants of the crown. Herein, Aurangzeb's Indian empire was vaster than that of Ashoka, Samudragupta, or Harshavardhan. Shah Jahan and Sarkar, quoted by V.D. Mahajan, India since 1526. The Bhakti movement and the rise of the Marathas. Just as need to revive Islam was felt among the Sufis and learned men among the Muslims, the Hindus were also thinking innovatively introduce something new or different, innovatively about their religion. Little noticed at this time was a trend among the Hindu population towards a move away from the caste system with belief in the quality of man and devotion to God. This gave rise to the Sikhs in the Punjab and the spread of Kabir's Bhakti movement, which spreading out from Marathas to Bengal and the banks of the Yamuna also contributed to the development of the modern languages of Marathi and Bengali. The movement acted as a unifying factor influencing the hopes of the Maratha peoples in the 15th and 16th centuries. However, despite their mystic origins, these movements later turned militant and defied Mughal authority, resulting in Maratha and Sikh revolts. The rise of Shivaji. In the wake of this movement, Shivaji, a Maratha leader influenced by Buddhism, was determined to revive Hinduism. He began his career as a robber chief operating daringly bold in the Upper Deccan, using guerrilla tactics and action or strategy carefully planned to achieve a specific end. He captured a number of forts in Maharashtra and also some from the Bhajipur territory. An area of land that is considered as belonging to or connected with a particular country or person. This brought him into conflict with the Mughals under Aurangzeb, who defeated him by spending a force led by his uncle Shah Jahan. Pune was captured and the northern part of Konkan was taken over by the Mughals. Shivaji was left with the southern Konkan but managed to trick Shah Jahan and get back his territory. It can be said that Shivaji and his Marathas posed the first challenge to Aurangzeb's rule and eventually were a cause of the empire's decline. In 1659, the ruler of Bhajipur spent a well-armed force of 10,000 under the command of Afzal Khan, an experienced and capable officer, to fight Shivaji. Unprepared to meet them in battle, Shivaji decided to open talks and invited Afzal Khan, who came with 2 companions. Shivaji also had 2 men with him. When Afzal Khan drew close to greet him, Shivaji attacked him with a tiger's claw. A sudden and surprising blow delivered by the palm of the hand while shouting a hand-held weapon, and then stabbed him with a dagger hidden in his sleeve. Afzal Khan was treacherously killed, and the Marathas ambushed and looted the Muslim army. Treacherously, in a disloyal and faithless manner, and ambushed make a surprise attack on someone from a concealed position. Aurangzeb's son Prince Muazzam became the next viceroy of the Deccan. With the support of Raja Jai Singh, Shivaji was captured and sent to the Mughal court at Agra, where he was welcomed but found himself to be a prisoner. He made a daring escape in 1666. Aurangzeb was persuaded to make peace with Shivaji and grant him a mansab with the title of Raja. During the later reign of Aurangzeb, Shivaji even crowned himself as a Maratha ruler and continued his fight with the Mughals, managing to defeat their generals till his death in 1680 at the age of 43. Shivaji's successors. After Shivaji's death, Sambhaji carried on the opposition against the Mughals. The Marathas were well acquainted, having a good knowledge and understanding of someone or something, with the hilly, forested terrain, a stretch of land, especially with regard to its physical features. They used guerrilla warfare and were extremely quick on their horses, whereas the Mughal army was huge and moved slowly and could not effectively counter the lightning attacks of the Maratha horsemen. Shivaji had made the Marathas into a strong nation which his successors were not able to continue. The Marathas eventually split into different groups under their own chiefs. It turned into Maratha Confederacy, a situation in which states or people join together for a particular purpose. Maratha Confederacy with 5 chiefs under the rule of the Peshwa, whose capital was at Pune. In 1687, Aurangzeb had decided to lead his army in person to the south against the Marathas and others. He made his temporary capital at Aurangabad and remained in the Deccan till his death in 1707 at the age of 90. The Deccan campaigns against the Marathas resulted in the loss of prestige of the Mughal army and weakened the empire's position. His prolonged absence from the north weakened the administration of the empire and made the Jats and Sikhs stronger, besides encouraging rebellions by his own people. Rebellions, violent action, or organized by a group of people who refused to accept their government's power. The treasury of the Mughals was amputated. Treasury, the funds or revenue of a state, institution or society. Mughals was amputated and the crores of rupees wasted on this war were never recovered. Aurangzeb as a king. Aurangzeb thought of kingship as a lofty ideal when he said, "I was sent into the world by Providence." Providence, the protective care of God or of nature as a spiritual way. To live and labor, not for myself but for others, that it is my duty not to think of my own happiness except so far as it is inseparably connected with the happiness of my people. He lived his life as a practicing and austere Muslim, austere, severe or strict in manner or attitude, denying himself any luxury or comfort. He tried to be tolerant and just towards his subjects. Hindus and Rajputs were given mansabs and responsible positions in his government as well as the army. He had extended the boundaries of the Mughal Empire to cover almost all of the territory of the subcontinent, an empire that was much larger than that of his ancestors, but also unmanageable by his successors. Aurangzeb died on Friday, 21st February 1707 and is buried in a simple tomb near the graves of other Muslim saints in Daultabad, close to Daultabad, near Ahmednagar. Now come to the questions. 1. In what ways did Aurangzeb try to improve the government during his reign? Answer. Aurangzeb had handled administrative matters satisfactorily in the Deccan. However, a long-lasting rivalry between him and his brother Dara Shah Jahan's favorite shadowed Aurangzeb's efforts. On coming to the throne, Aurangzeb took some years to give relief to the people. He abolished toll taxes, pendari the ground or house tax, and nearly 80 other taxes. At court, he prohibited the festival of Nowruz, which was Persian in origin, banned music, dance, and alcohol, and appointed muhtasibs or censors of public morals to control the conduct of the people. 2. Who were the Marathas? What effect did they have on Aurangzeb's empire? Answer. The Marathas were a Marathi-speaking warrior group from the western Deccan Plateau, present-day Maharashtra, who rose to prominence by establishing a Hindavi Swarajya, self-rule of native Hindu Indian people. In the wake of this movement, Shivaji, a Maratha leader influenced by Bhaktism, was determined to revive Hinduism. He began his career as a robber chief, operating daringly in the Upper Deccan. Using guerrilla tactics, he captured a number of forts in Maharashtra and also some from the Bajipur territory. This brought him into conflict with the Mughals under Aurangzeb. Shivaji and his Marathas posed the first challenge to Aurangzeb's rule and eventually were a cause of the empire's decline. 3. What were the results of Aurangzeb's religious policy? What measures did he take? Answer. Aurangzeb prohibited the festival of Nowruz, which was Persian in origin, banned music, dance, and alcohol, and appointed muhtasibs or censors of public morals to control the conduct of the people. In 1679, jizya, the tax on non-Muslims, was reimposed on the Hindus, which created a lot of ill will for Aurangzeb. The tax was resented by the Hindus who again felt at a disadvantage compared to the Muslims' subjects. However, it is often overlooked that Aurangzeb abolished jizya in 1740 because he found the tax collectors to be corrupt and he did not wish to burden his subjects. 4. Do you think Aurangzeb was as great a king as Akbar? Answer. Yes, I think Aurangzeb was a great king because Aurangzeb was a great king as Akbar because under his rule the Mughal Empire reached its greatest extent and the largest single state known in India. From the dawn of history to the rise of the British was formed. He abolished toll taxes, pendari, the house tax, and nearly 80 other taxes. He was a strict Muslim and we opposed the jizya tax, which was only on non-Muslims, so most of the non-Muslims converted to Muslims to avoid giving taxes. He banned music, dance, and alcohol, and appointed muhtasibs or censors of public moral to control the conduct of the people. He lived his life as a practicing and austere Muslim, denying himself any luxury or comfort. How successful were the Deccan policies of Akbar, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb? Answer. The policy of conquest of Deccan was started by Akbar. He succeeded in annexing Khandesh, captured a part of Ahmednagar, and took control over some strong forts like Daultabad, Ahmadnagar, Burhanpur, Asirgarhetc, etc. So Akbar established the Mughal Empire in Deccan. Shah Jahan also continued the policy of conquest of Deccan states and succeeded in adding Ahmadnagar and the kingdoms of Golconda and Bajipur, except the Mughals dynasty, and paid tributes to them. Aurangzeb further attached Golconda and Bajipur to his empire. His Deccan campaigns against the Marathas resulted in the loss of prestige of the Mughal army and weakened the emperor's position. Though the Mughals succeeded in expanding various parts of Deccan to the Mughal Empire, and the empire reached its peak under Aurangzeb, but it also paved the way for the disintegration of empire. 6. What were the achievements of Aurangzeb? Did they help him strengthen the Mughal Empire? Answer. Aurangzeb ascended the throne with the title of Alamgir or world conqueror. He was a great general and statesman, and nobody could rival him in diplomacy and statecraft. He was a pious Muslim who believed that the wealth of the state was a trust with its rulers, to be spent for the welfare of the people instead of being wasted on personal desires. Hindus and Rajputs were given mansabs and responsible positions in his government as well as the army. He had extended the boundaries of the Mughal Empire to cover almost all of the territory of the subcontinent, an empire that was much larger than of his ancestors, but also unmanageable by his successors. A famous historian says of Aurangzeb, under him the Mughal Empire reached its greatest extent and the largest single state known in India from the dawn of history to the rise of the British was formed. From Ghazi to Chittagong, from the Kashmir to the Karnataka, the continent of India obeyed one scepter. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.